Now, I recently did an interview with another fellow Texas Gatekeeper, Carl Crawford of 1501 Entertainment. And I brought up the Texas Gatekeeper list, and he said, for him, the list kind of created a couple of problems for him. Hey, man, thank you for everything you done, man. Definitely, I love putting you on the Texas Gatekeeper list.
Hey, I appreciate you for putting me on there. Hey, you be raising a couple of, ruffling a couple of feathers when you do that, but it's all good.
In what way have you seen the feathers being ruffled, man?
Well, I mean, I'm coming from another lane, you know what I'm saying? So it's like baseball player, man, gatekeeper in the rap game in Texas, like people that just kind of like feel a certain type of way about that. You know what I'm saying? And I understand, but at the same time, I'm putting in the work to get people like you to put me right there. So, if you just giving it to me and I wasn't doing the work, then I'd probably feel a certain type of way. But I feel like I earned it.
He was thankful for the list. He was like, but it brought out kind of a lot of haters for him saying, why is he on the list? Like as if he doesn't deserve to be, especially coming from a baseball world. And so soon getting into the music world, people are upholding him as a gatekeeper here. He's like, a lot of people was kind of like thumbing their nose up at that. How has the Texas Gatekeeper, with you being higher up, been received amongst your peers and things of that nature?
I mean, I think by definition, I don't necessarily think a lot of people even know what the term gatekeeper really means, at least by what you guys were trying to present it as, right? Which obviously I saw your interviews and I knew exactly how you were positioning it. So by definition, I didn't hear rebuttals, right? But of course, you'll see little slick comments on social media and people will kind of take jabs and, people will feel like as if, I may not be as deserving in that space, but I mean, at the end of the day, no one can really dispute my contributions to the music scene, not just locally, but also regionally and even in some cases nationally. Yeah. We talk about, the roles that I play. Obviously I'm a talent buyer, promoter. I act as an agent. I broker a lot of deals for a lot of talent, not only to get shows, but also facilitate deals for them in other areas. And also in addition to that, and I'm not talking about just, regional talent, I'm talking about national talent. Yeah. Case in point, just the other day, and it's not to flex, it's not to name drop, Jordan Lucas, his manager, reached out to me. They got this app called the Tully app right now that they're putting a big push behind. Jordan Lucas is currently doing a contest on there right now where he's remixing one of his records. He reached out to me and said, hey man, do you think you can plug us in with Dave East? We want to get Dave East involved with this. And I had just got done plugging them in with Royce, and Royce is going to be part of that event, Royce the 5'9", and not event, but the whole situation they're doing. So I was able to facilitate this deal between Jordan Lucas and Dave East, and I'm looking at it like these guys would not be having these conversations had it, not been for my existence or me doing it or brokering it. Maybe it would be somebody else would be doing it, but it's me doing it. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
And then you have also me acting as a publicist in some cases where I'll bring the talents in and I'll try to get them as much media. And for me, being able to assist someone like Mogul Media, who I saw the potential early on, I said, look, this is going to be a platform that's going to be solid, strong. It's in my best interest to not only get the talents that are coming in town that I'm booking or that I work with exclusively to get in front of the camera, to get good interview content, but it's also building your platform in turn. So when we turn around and we do an interview, now we have 60,000 subscribers that we're feeding versus maybe 3,000 in the beginning. You know what I mean?
No,
so
absolutely.
That's long-term vision, long-term building. But outside of that, I still act as a producer. I still act as a graphic designer. I still act as a web designer. I still act as a manager. And I think when people realize that, like, I play all these roles and I'm brokering all these deals and, I still have talent on a national level that's requesting me to come in and, route their tours despite where they're at in their career. Like, a lot of people don't have that leverage. A lot of people don't have that type of, I hate to use the term power, but a lot of people don't have that type of reach. And I think that should be understood whenever we're talking about a list like this where, I've never really been in competition with any of these guys that are on the list. I just look at it and I go, hey, respect, salute, respect, salute, respect, salute. But I know that a lot of those guys don't do all the things that I do. I don't want to, ever be a master, a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Right.
But I am a Swiss Army knife, bro. You pick your poison. I can do a number of things, and I do that. And I was appreciative of the fact that you saw that and that other people are seeing that, and I don't think a lot of people were really necessarily you don't deserve it. But maybe behind closed doors, there's people in the city, Fort Worth, that want that look. You know, you know what I'm saying? They want that look and they want to be acknowledged like that. So
I'm not gonna say no names, but I had a few who wanted to argue me down that man, Smooth Vega ain't no gatekeeper. I'm like, boy, you crazy. If anything, I've seen it firsthand.
yeah.
And I had to put them up on game. And a lot of people like, damn, I didn't know. And I'm saying that's the purpose of the gatekeeper list, is to highlight what you don't know and step away from simply being a popular person list versus like, hey, these people actually have things that they contribute and leverage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to talk about Bob Supreme. Supreme definitely one of those guys that has yet to make the gatekeeper list. And I wanted to do the gatekeeper list more so based off of what you're doing now, not necessarily of what you have done in the past.
Correct.
We could probably come up with a pioneer list, something of people like trailblazers who made way for other people. And I also want to make the disclaimer, just because you're not on this list doesn't make you a gatekeeper.
Doesn't mean you're not a gatekeeper.
Right. It just simply means like, hey, these are people that we see are actively making things happen right now. It doesn't take away with what you have done in the past, but actively right now, because this list is really for the artists.
Correct.
This list is really for the artists to see who's active in their backyard right now. These are the people you need to follow. These are the people you need to find out who they are, and these are the people you need to tap into. And then, you know, after I dropped the list, Supreme unfollowed me.
That's funny. I'm sorry. This is hilarious.
And there's no beef. I think he is a gatekeeper. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, and I might be wrong. Of course, I'm human. This is just my opinion. I can't see everything that's behind closed doors. But I just want to highlight the people that are doing something right now.
Yeah.
But I think he did feel some type of way about it. What do you feel about Supreme and just the Fort Worth scene altogether?
You know, going back to your point a little while ago where you said maybe there were some people that maybe felt that I wasn't as deserving or that I wasn't a quote unquote gatekeeper. I'm not gonna make the argument as to why I am, but what I will say is that just because I don't broadcast everything doesn't mean it's not happening. And not only that, but I myself wasn't always comfortable being in the role of being viewed in a certain light. So I don't, you know, and I think I've had that conversation with you off the record where I'm not always the face of every move I make. And I've become more of that with my platform and me doing certain interviews as well. But in terms of Bob Supreme and, you know, where he stands amongst the gatekeepers, I definitely feel he is a gatekeeper. I definitely feel that in Fort Worth, though we've never really crossed paths, you know, he's reached out several times to work with me to like get some of his artists on shows. Whenever he was first working Kenny B, he reached out to me when he first worked with some of the talents like Enchanting, I believe. He reached out, you know, and there's been plenty of times where, you know, I think by definition, you know, what he's been able to do by identifying talent early on and catching them early on and really kind of being a mentor and in a sense maybe even an A&R early on in their development, it should be commended, you know. But I think the only issue I have, and it's not even just not necessarily with him, but just in general when you talk about Fort Worth, is there's this idea and this concept amongst everybody, and I've seen people do this, you know, I've seen even Yayo do this, right? Where they feel as if the rap scene and the music scene in this city started with them. And that's just not true. You know what I mean? There is legitimately a history. And I think a lot of people only base that history off of the inception of YouTube and how YouTube boomed. It's like, no, there was plenty of people prior that had a lot of success. You can go deep into the history. And I know that sounds like some real old man shit to say because it's not the cool shit to say, right? Like, once upon a time, there was this guy by the name of Twisted Black. And Twisted Black was doing this, that, and the third, right? Or 6'2", for example, you know, who 6'2" was on the Dr. Dre Chronic 2001 album. 6'2" was an artist that, coming out of the situation with Dre, he did get signed to Timbaland. You know, he was getting looked at by Cash Money. You know, you even look at someone like Solo Lucci, right? There's been a success prior to that wave of new talent that came in. And not to mention, there's a whole nother realm within the city because Fort Worth, by definition and by population, right, is the 12th, 13th biggest city in the United States. So when you look at, you know, all the areas in Fort Worth, it's not just trap rap. You also have the Latin rap side. You also have other pockets of people that have become successful in this in this market.
Yeah.
So, you know, Supreme has had a big part in, you know, playing a part in some of those guys' careers. So I can't really speak as to why he wasn't on the list. Maybe to your point, a lot of those people that he was working with was previous. But like I'll see posts on social and, you know, I'll be like, what happened to the Fort Worth scene, right? You know, I literally see this. Like I saw it the other day and I'm just like, it's alive and well. There's still guys doing 600 people a night, you know, at a show over here. You know, I mean, like, when we talk about the Fort Worth music scene, are we only talking about one side of town? Or are we talking about the whole entire city? Are we talking about just rap? Or are we talking about, you know, the promotion world? Because if anything, I feel like it's healthy. You know, we're starting to see more national acts come to our city. We just got an arena, Dickies Arena, where we're starting to see national tours come in, you know, so not like real big tours, right? 14,000 seaters, you know, like, and not to mention, you know, like, you know, I haven't stopped doing events here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we've stopped. So I think that when you look at Fort Worth from that perspective, it's more than just YouTube. It's more than just, you know, Yayo and all the guys that came in that era.